Well, welcome to Serendipity Winery. We are a mother-daughter run winery. This is my daughter, Katie. She is the winemaker at Serendipity. And we started off many years ago. I was a lawyer in Toronto and was involved in a car accident and couldn't practice law anymore, so had to find something else to do. And I love cooking, but I had some health issues, so can't stand still long enough to be a full-time chef. So I figured making food-friendly wines was as close to cooking as I could get, and moving is what I have to do. Standing still is the hard thing for me. I had never been on a farm before, but I mean, you know, farmers are always working, and winemakers are inside cleaning and carrying hoses around, and it sounded perfect for me. Here I was out in a 4-day vacation in the Okanagan, and I happened to drive by this little apple cherry orchard that was for sale, and something inside of my soul spoke to me and said, stop, get out and walk around, and it just seemed perfect. I was not planning on buying a winery, but at the end of my little walk around this apple cherry orchard, I called the real estate agent and said I'd like to put an offer in. And so I dictated the offer to her, and she filled it out, and as my way out to Penticton, I signed it, drove up to Kelowna, and by the time I arrived back home in Toronto, I was a proud owner of an apple cherry orchard. That's why the name is called Serendipity, because it was a fortunate accident that I just happened to be driving by this apple cherry orchard and stopped. So that's how we got the name Serendipity.
And my background's in biology, so I was working at McMaster University in a virus research lab, and I realized research was not for me, so I figured when in doubt, write the LSAT. So I did, and I had 9 months off between when my thesis presentation finished and when law school was supposed to start. So I came out here, I thought, Mommy works too much, I'll help her. And it's been 10 years, so I think maybe the longest 9 months of my entire life. But I discovered winemaking, and I love that I get to be creative and use my science background and help be a part of helping my mom's dream be a reality.
And so we incorporated our concept onto our label. So we have Sir Isaac Newton sitting under the apple tree, because we were an apple cherry orchard before. The apple falls, hits his head, he discovers gravity. It's a serendipitous moment for Serendipity Winery.
So as a fellow scientist, I was really hoping for like Marie Curie or penicillin, but apparently those are not appetizing on a food product. So we've kept our lovely Newton in the apple tree.
The very first wine I made was the Serenata, which is what I just showed you here. This is a Bordeaux blend. Of course, we can't call it Bordeaux. It's a mixture of Serendipity Naramata for Serenata, and that's what we call our Bordeaux wine. So the first wine I ever made, some of the winemakers around here came around to see what I was doing, and they came and tasted it, and they said, oh, you should put this into some competitions. And I said, well, for my style of wine that I'm making, it's sort of one that needs aging. And so it's not ready because it's just been bottled. I'd like to age it for about 5 years or so before I put it in competitions. And they said, no, do it now. So they talked me into it. So I called down to California because it was the only competition that was still available at this time in San Francisco. And I said, could I put my wine in the competition? And the lady said, you are so lucky. We've had so many entries this year that we're actually still processing. Normally we would have been closed by now, but she said, if you can send it down tomorrow, absolutely, I'll put it in the competition. I forgot completely about it till 2-3 months later, and I got a phone call from them saying, who the hell are you? And I said, pardon me? And they said, we've just finished the competition and your wine won double gold. And we have never given double gold outside of California before, so we went online, and you don't even have a proper winery yet. And I said, well, I actually am a winery, because you had to be to enter the competition, but I actually made it out of my garage because I thought, before I invest the money in a winery, let's see if I can make wine. So I borrowed a little small press and everything just to make this Serenata wine. And that's what I sent down to her. And she said, no, she said, you can't have made it. People go through generations to make this kind of wine. You can't just do that. And I said, well, it was the very first wine I ever made, and that's what I sent down to you. So that was how we got into it. So the very first wine we made got double gold.
They
And then-
seemed almost offended when they called you too. They were very upset that this tiny little winery that wasn't even a winery yet dared to win the best Bordeaux blend.
Not only that, but it was made out of a garage by,
By this female.
by a lawyer who'd never made wine before.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, we put our Viognier into the competition, and it was an international competition. They had many countries submit their Viognier. There was many, many judges,
3,200 Viogniers.
and every judge picked ours as the best Viognier. So they decided to give us points. We got 97 points for it.
So I remember I was checking our email, and you always get an email. Here's your results. You know, you did well. You got gold here, bronze there, silver there, and then I saw double gold for the Viognier, and I went, oh wow, isn't that nice? And then my mom's reading over my shoulder, and she goes, does that say best Viognier? I was like, no. And I kept reading, and sure enough, that year, as per their judges, we made the best Viognier in the world, which I thought Ashton Kutcher was going to jump out of the couch. I did not think it was real. I thought I was getting punked, but there you go.
Mm-hmm. So we are not in the government liquor stores, but we are in some private liquor stores, and Save On Foods now has us. Our wines are VQA, so when Jimmy Pattison bought out the VQA licenses, he got all the wine that was in the VQA stores as well, and he continues to supply it. So we're in all these Save On Food stores.
You can also find our wines online. We'll ship straight to your door, and as long as it's not harvest, I'm happy to do sort of personal shopping. Just send me an email, give me a budget, and I will put together a fun case of some of my favorites for you.
The only condition is it has to be in Canada. We can't ship outside of Canada, but we would love to be able to supply you some of our product.